Imagine this for a second. It's 1935. The country is just gripped by the Great Depression, and this politician comes along, a folksy, really charismatic senator. He's tapping right into that despair. He's promising prosperity, all these benefits, and a harsh hand for anyone he calls a troublemaker.
Right, you'd probably dismiss him. Just more noise.
Exactly. But then he wins. He wins the presidency, and suddenly everything you thought was solid, Congress, the courts, a free press, it's all being actively, and I mean violently, dismantled.
And that shocking premise is the core of Sinclair Lewis's 1935 novel, It Can't Happen Here. I mean, Lewis was a Nobel laureate. He's writing this as fascism is swallowing Europe, and he's asking this terrifyingly specific question.
What does an American dictatorship look like?
Yes. Not one we import, but one that's homegrown. A corpo state, as he calls it.
So our mission today is to really get into the mechanics of what Lewis laid out. We're going to track the rise of this demagogue, Senator Berzelius Buzz Windrip, and really focus on how that loss of freedom trickles down from these big national decrees to, the most personal betrayals in a small Vermont town.
And just so you know, what you're experiencing is a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's Notebook LM, which lets us get a really deep and dynamic analysis of the book.
Lewis wasn't interested in just theory, was he? He gets into the weeds.
Oh, absolutely not. He uses these incredibly realistic political details and almost journalistic style to show the whole transition. He's basically shouting a warning that the real threat to democracy isn't some complex ideology. It's exploiting economic fear.
Okay, so let's talk about the man himself, Buzz Windrip. The book doesn't paint him as some sort of ideological genius, does it?
Not at all. He's a populist, a pure salesman. He sounds like a savior to the common man one minute and a ruthless strongman the next.
He even has a campaign book, right? 0 Hour.
He does, and it's just full of these sweeping, often totally contradictory promises. On one hand, yeah, he's guaranteeing jobs, a social safety net, but on the other, he's promising to restore American dignity by, crushing dissent, targeting minorities.
And that mix of economic hope and aggressive nationalism, that's the winning formula.
Yeah.
He rides mass rallies and the new power of radio right into the White House in 1936.
He completely bypasses the mainstream political machine because he goes straight for that raw nerve of desperation.
What's really unsettling to me, though, is the speed. The book makes it clear there's no slow erosion. It's a collapse.
That's the critical point. Windrip doesn't bother trying to pass laws. He just declares a national emergency.
And that's it.
That's it. By executive decree, all power is concentrated in his office. Congress is suspended. The Supreme Court is made irrelevant. The entire legal framework is just pushed aside.
So wait, there's no resistance from, the military or other institutions?
Well, that's the key. He doesn't use the existing institutions. He replaces them with a parallel force that's loyal only to him. And that brings us to the physical arm of the corpo regime, the Minutemen.
Tell us about them. They're more than just a fan club, I take it.
Oh, much more. They're his party militia. They have uniforms. They act as auxiliary police, party enforcers, everything. The term corpo is short for corporatist, which back in the 30s meant state control of the economy. Businesses get stability, but in return, they have to give total political obedience.
And the Minutemen enforce this.
With absolute brutality. They're conducting raids, arrests, intimidation. Right away, the rhetoric becomes violent street-level control overnight.
So let's bring this down to the ground level. What does this look like for an average person? We move to Fort Beulah, Vermont, and our protagonist, Doremus Jessup.
Doremus. He's a newspaper editor in his 60s, a thoughtful, maybe a little complacent, small-town liberal. His story is how this massive political earthquake lands right in his personal life.
And this is where Lewis is just brilliant.
Yeah.
Because he shows that authoritarianism doesn't have to import monsters. It just empowers the resentment that's already there.
Exactly. Which brings us to Shad Ledoux.
Ugh, Shad Ledoux. Jessup's former hired hand, a guy who's just simmering with resentment, feeling like he's been overlooked his whole life.
And now, under the corpo system, Shad is suddenly the local commissioner. He has real power, and he uses that power to settle every single grudge he's ever had.
He becomes a weapon of the state.
He does. He's not governing, he's intimidating. Extorting local businesses, the book specifically mentions him targeting the town's Jewish tailor, Mr. Klein, forcing donations. And he goes directly after Jessup's family, harassing his wife and daughter.
Wow. It shows how the whole system is built to reward cruelty over competence. It basically gives the formerly powerless a license for sadism.
And that just fractures the whole community. People who used to sit in the same church pews are now on opposite sides. Some are true believers in Windrip. A lot are just opportunists.
And the rest?
The rest are the silent majority.
Wow.
Terrified. Unsure who to trust.
So institutions like his newspaper, the Daily Informer, they're caught in this vice.
Completely. Civic clubs, schools, churches, they're all slowly pulled into line by fear. You either parrot the propaganda or you get branded an enemy.
So Jessup's story really becomes about the agonizing choices people have to make. It's not about grand ideology anymore. It's, do you sign a loyalty oath to keep your business? Or do you risk losing everything?
Yeah, and if you find this exploration of ethical choices under pressure compelling, our YouTube channel, Mindful Moments, is all about this stuff. We have AI book analyses and critiques that really encourage that kind of reflection and rational thought.
So speaking of choices, Jessup tries to resist at first through his newspaper.
He does. He tries to toe the line, tries to use irony to critique the regime without being too obvious.
That irony doesn't work against thugs, does it?
No, it's totally insufficient. As he keeps printing more critical material, the Minutemen stop just watching him and start targeting him, directly and violently.
And the cost of criticism becomes real.
It leads to his arrest, his imprisonment in a place called Trianon Camp. And it's not just a prison, it's a political camp designed to break people. The beatings, the torture, it's all psychological. It's about crushing your will to resist.
But that repression, it's also what forges the real resistance, isn't it?
It is. When Jessup gets out, he's done with commentary, he's into active underground work, and he finds this incredible ally in Lorinda Pike.
The innkeeper, a social activist.
A powerful widowed innkeeper, yeah. Their partnership really becomes the engine for the whole clandestine opposition movement that starts to bubble up across Vermont.
And this fractures his own family. Profoundly.
Oh, it's tragic. Lewis shows how totalitarianism just corrodes personal loyalty. His wife, Emma, she understandably just wants to keep the family safe. She leans toward accommodation.
But his daughters, Mary and Sissy, they go the other way.
Completely. They get directly involved in the opposition, especially after Mary's husband, who's a doctor, resists the corpos and suffers some very severe consequences. That event just radicalizes them.
But the deepest cut, the real betrayal, comes from his son, Philip.
Yes. In this just brutal familial split, Philip joins the corpo system. He becomes a judge.
A judge for the regime.
A judge for the regime, sometimes presiding over the trials of his own father's friends and allies. It's how Lewis shows the system weaponizing the most intimate relationships.
The idea of a son judging his father's allies, that's chilling. But Lewis also talks about the failure of the corpo state itself, right? It's not a well-oiled machine.
Not at all. It's inherently unstable. A system built on pure demagoguery and self-interest starts to decay from the inside. The prosperity Windrip promised never shows up. Corruption is everywhere.
So the rats start turning on each other.
Precisely. The top lieutenants, this political operator, Lee Saracen, and a military guy named Dewey Haig, they turn on Windrip. They stage their own coups.
No, it's not a liberation. It's just swapping one dictator for another.
Exactly. It's just a Game of Thrones between brutal opportunists. But that instability is the spark. It leads to uprisings, draft riots, and eventually open civil war, especially out in the Midwest where resistance armies start to form.
And that's where we see Jessup's later work tied into this bigger national fight.
It is. And we should probably, start short of revealing all the final twists of the novel to keep our focus on the structure Lewis builds.
Right. It's important to remember the context here. This book comes out in 1935.
Which is everything. Lewis is writing this as a direct response to Hitler and Mussolini. He wasn't trying to predict the future. He was just holding up a mirror to the present and warning Americans, don't think you're immune.
And that's why the book keeps coming back. Every time we see extreme polarization or the weaponizing of grievances or the appeal of a strong man promising easy answers, Lewis's warning just gets louder.
And so we're back to that central question. Just how fragile are our democratic institutions? The genius of the novel is showing how quickly normal places, a newspaper office, a Rotary Club, can be turned into tools for surveillance and punishment.
It's a really sobering look at how fast things can go from complacency to catastrophe.
Yeah, driven by resentment and enabled by fear. If you want to dive even deeper into all this, the characters, the history, check out Mindful Moments and our other genre-based book analysis podcasts. You can find them at Mindful Moments. Nourish your mind on the go.
Lewis really gave us a mirror, not a crystal ball. And it's on us to pay attention to the reflection.
Click the link for the in-depth book analysis, then subscribe, share, consider purchasing the book via the link, and think critically.